begin speaking. We've been cleared for takeoff and we'll be departing shortly.
Go ahead and give that man a round of applause.
That boy's got talent.
Hello, welcome. This is the first video we're going to do as far as tutorials go. And we're going to go into a little bit about compression plugins, which it also, translates to hardware compressors too. But what I've got pulled up here is a Pro Tools session where I just recorded a vocal take of the ABCs. And we're just going to kind of use that as an example as to show how the compressors work. So let me pull this up and bypass it. So I'm going to play the clip here. I'm going to play it. It's just recorded in through the 48 volt phantom power input on the front of my Fireface. So there's no compression on the front end or anything like that. It's just recorded in raw. So we'll listen to it that way. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Okay, so A, B, C, D, E. Oops, nope, not doing it again. So you can hear that, or you can hear the audio signal, and you can see that there's no compression on it. There's nothing moving here because I have it bypassed up here. So let's take that bypass off now and play it again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Okay, so you can see now that there is something happening. You're seeing some gain reduction right here anywhere between 1 to 4 decibels. Now, why is that happening? What's happening? Let's kind of dive into that and find out. So you have all these pots here, and we'll start out with the two right here because that's kind of the meat and potatoes of what's happening. And we will start out with explaining the ratio pot. And what that means is you have 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10. 1.5 means for every 1.5 decibels that's placed into the compressor or the plug-in, that 1 decibel is going to be pushed out. As you go up, for every 2 decibels that's put into the compressor, 1 will come out, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, and 10, 1. Meaning 10 means when the compressor is compressing, it's squeezing, for every 10 decibels that's coming in, it's squeezing that down to 1 decibel. So that's pretty aggressive compression. I usually, for vocals, run between 2 and 4, depending on the vocalist. Now, the way that ties into the threshold is that once that compressor is set, we've got a 2-1, meaning for every 2 decibels that comes into the compressor, 1's going to be pushed out. That's going to happen based upon the threshold you set. At what decibel level you set the threshold, meaning once that signal goes over that threshold, that's when the compressor begins to compress the signal. The further you pull it down, the more compression you're going to get. And the way that these two pots here, attack and release, play into the game is that once that signal goes over the threshold, the attack is going to say, how quickly am I going to grab that signal once it goes over the threshold? Over here is a very fast attack time, meaning almost immediately, once the signal goes over the threshold, immediately the compressor is going to begin to act upon that signal. As you start to pull it over this way, it starts to react slower. It won't grab it as quickly. And the release is the opposite, has the same philosophy, but it just acts in the opposite end of the compressor. Meaning that once that signal goes back underneath the threshold, how quickly will the compressor release and let go of it? Once again, over here would be pretty well immediately. Once the signal drops below that threshold, the compressor will let go of it immediately. And as you start to get over this way, it's more of a slow release of it. And I'll show you here in a minute exactly what I'm talking about. And then you have the makeup gain. The makeup gain, let's say we are doing 4 decibels of compression to tame the louder parts of the signal that we don't want to be loud like that. And at that point, we're doing 4 decibels of gain reduction at that point in the signal. It's possible if you want to do that, you could take the makeup gain up 4 decibels to compensate in that gain reduction that we have applied during the compression phase and bring that level back up to where it was prior to that. So let's play it and play around with some of these knobs, and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Now, if you go back and watch, I was playing with the attack, and if you would watch, when I had it selected way over here at 30, you could tell the needle moved way slower as far as grabbing a hold of that signal. And when I had it pulled back over here to where I normally have it, you'll see that the needle moves a lot quicker and grabs that signal once it goes over that threshold pretty quickly. Now this time what I'm going to do is play with the release button and think of it the opposite way. Once it goes back below that threshold, how quickly is the needle coming back to 0?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Now, as you can see there, when I pulled the release over to a very long release, the needle was slow coming back over. And sometimes it didn't even make it back over to 0 before it was back compressing again. But when I brought the release knob back over to the left to a quicker release, you saw that once the compressor stopped working, the needle came back over to 0 pretty quickly. So that is kind of how that all works together. The ratio is how many decibels are going in and how many are being pushed out as far as the compression ratio you're using. Over here's pretty light, pretty natural. Over here's pretty tamed and aggressive, which, is fine for certain applications or certain vocalists or certain genres. There's no rules to it. There's some suggestions to lead you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, if it sounds good for that vocalist and you're not doing anything completely out of this world, it's probably okay to do so. One thing to keep in mind is that when you are doing this, watch your meter on your fader for that particular vocal or that signal to make sure that you aren't pushing it so hard that you're clipping, but that you're also not way down here as far as your signal. You're super weak down there. And that has a lot to do with the tracking phase, which I'll do a tutorial in the future on tracking to get a good signal during the tracking phase. It's not too weak, not too hot. If you do that, all of your plugins and everything are going to react better to that signal. You're not going to have a lot of filth in that signal. It's going to be clean. So when you EQ, when you compress, all those things, it's just going to be a much smoother process. It's going to give you the best quality product that you can. But it's kind of, like I said, just a little basic crash course on how compressors work. There are some plugins out there that don't have this type of where you can't change the release and attack times. Those compressors are made to have a certain sound, so you can't change any of that. But, on a lot, and what I would prefer to have as far as the compressors that I use, something like this, where I just have control over what I'm doing so that I can use that plugin and I can apply it to a number of different scenarios and change these things to work the way that I need them to work for that particular scenario. Anyway, I appreciate y'all giving me time and watching, and I'll have another one out in the future. Peace and chicken grease.